Hello everyone, welcome to the next episode on SAP UI5 and Fiori training. In the last session in SAP UI5, we discussed about the concepts of model. What is a data model? How does the data model look like? How can we create the model object, load the data or set the data to the model object, and then finally making the model aware to the application. Three easy steps to create the model. Once a model is created, the data is persisted in the model and the model object is now usable for consumption. But in order to use this data model with the view, we need to understand how to make the address of the data which you want to point. You will have your data set constructed with a collection of entity sets. Each entity set has attribute properties and sometimes elements because of an array. So sometimes because of arrays, we have multiple elements like it is demonstrated here in EMP tab. With the help of this, we are able to make the address of the data. This address of the data is very important because this will be playing an important role in our data binding concept. Let us go ahead and use this data which we had prepared. And before we use this data, we got to validate. So who will tell me which is the website or place to validate all the JSON? Which is the website where you can validate all the JSON? We have discussed that in the last sessions. Yes, perfect answer. We go to jsonlint.com and we always validate our JSON over there. This was also discussed in one of the class. Yeah. So let's go to the jsonlint.com and there we will see how to use JSON validation. So I come back here to jsonlint.com and here I'll be creating curly braces and let's put here EMP structure and EMP table. This is my EMP structure and I'll also put an EMP table. So not necessary you keep the properties as same. You can keep a different names also altogether. This is completely fine. Okay. So let's come here and now we can just go ahead and add properties. Let me make it a little bigger. And now let's add properties. EMP name, EMP number, and I'll put 1000. Then we put E name, Spider-Man, salary, currency, euro. Then we have right now let's say these many properties. And now I come to EMP tab and I'll put more properties for employee table. So let's put some more properties here along with currency. We put smoker. Gender, marital status, single, and then we put rating. So this is my data for one record. Let's change the employee name here. So I'll put here Syed and 8500 real. And now let me add some more records, guys. So I'll just come here, put comma, add some more records. So I've added couple of records here. Let's change some values in these records. So that's my first record. The second record is I'll put as 1001. Jessica 8700. US dollars. Smoker, female, married, 4, 1002. Bilal, 7465. Riyal, true, male single, rating is 3, 1003. Venkata, 1,80,000. Indian rupees. Smoker is false, male, married, rating is 4, 1004. Sonia, 45,000 euros, false, female, married, and that's my records. Okay. All right, guys, let's validate our JSON. So click on validate button. You can see our JSON is valid. Clear, everyone? This is something which we also learned in the previous chapter of JavaScript, how to create a simple JSON. Anyone, how many entity sets I have in my JSON? Who will tell me? As per the last class, also we discussed about it. How many entity sets? We have two entity sets. One is employee structure and one is employee table. Perfect answer. So let's go ahead and use this JSON now to pump the data inside our application. So those who are joining the class for the first time, guys, you have missed many things. You're directly jumping to learning sentences without learning words and alphabets. So be careful. Many of these things you may not understand. So this is something which is already covered in couple of last classes. So maybe you feel like what's going on. Okay. So don't feel that. Once you go through the missed classes which we had already finished, you will understand it better. Now coming back, let me copy this JSON and I will take it, come back, and now I just come here and let's create a model. So what I will do, I will create in my main controller, I'm going to go to init method. Init method is initialization. You remember I have explained about init method in one of the chapter where we talked about the basics of views, MVC architecture, where I told you init method acts like a constructor of a class. It is like constructor of a class, just the way constructor is called. When object of class is created, this method will also be called once UI5 create object of controller. Okay, so now inside the init method we are going to write the code. So let's recreate those 3 steps. Do you remember those 3 steps? Now it's time to take an interview back, and I will pick up somebody randomly and I will ask this to you. Okay, all right, Shriveni, I got you. Please unmute your line. Tell me first 3 steps. Come on.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Uh, uh, yeah. First step is create a brand new model object for your reference.
Model object for,
Your reference, your
okay, good.
choice. Whether we can say
So we will
take
be creating JSON.
JSON or
Mhm.
okay.
Fine. Step 2, please.
Where set or load the data of of the model which we created first step.
Okay, good.
Set
Now,
and make the model available to the view application.
how many techniques we have in this step?
Three techniques.
What are
Three
all those?
techniques. Make the model available to the all the views or single view or only whatever the field or UI control which we use only to that control.
Perfect answer. Very good. How do you remember all this?
I have read and I have taken the printout of that and I
Good.
gone through all the steps and I have created.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for remembering those steps. You clarify
Yeah,
this
thank
from the
you.
point of view. Cool. So these are all the steps. And now let's write down these code for each of the step, which we had already iterated through yesterday. And you see, already we all remember this. So I assume we all remember this. So let's move on now and write down the code. Step number one, var o model equals, I want to create a JSON model. So new sap.ui.model.json.json model. The next step is set the data to the model. So o model, that's your model object. You remember model is an object, guys. You can see this object is created. Let's set the data. And now what we're going to do is we're going to set this data. So where is our data? It's there in the jsonlean.com. There you go. This is our data. I'm going to pump this data directly over here as it is. As it is, guys. You see all this data is coming. And that's your data. Cool. So that data is available now in the SAP UI5 SAP Web IDE to be able to set to the model object, and now making the model aware to the application. The best way is to make it aware to the entire app rather than a single view. So I will do here sap.ui.getCore.set model, and I will mention here o model. That's what exactly we are doing. Cool. All right, guys. So this is all done. Now we have got the data available to the entire application. Superb. Let's go ahead and now execute this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to execute this up. And what we will do, we will run this. So right now you will not see a change because we have not connected this model to our UI elements, but you will not see any issue also. When I run this, ideally you should not see any issue in the console. Your console should not show any issue for you, right? So let's go to console, run this application, press F12, go to console and check, is there any issue? Do you see any issue related to model? So there is one issue related to fav icon, which is okay. Something related to cache buster, which is okay. Something related to Orion cache buster JSON, something which is also okay. But there is no issue related to model, guys, which means our model has been created successfully. How do you access the model here now? How do you access the model? Anybody who has a smart mind to answer this question? I did not tell you. Perfect. Rahul has got it right. You see, guys, we have set the model at the app level. Now, when you have a setter method, what will you also have? Anyone? When you have a setter method, what you will also have? You will also have a getter method. So you can use this core object and get the model object again, right? So we can use get model instead of set model. So let's come back to console and say var Anubhav equals to sap.ui.getCore.getModel. Clear, everybody? Is this clear, everyone? This line of code, how to get the model object, which is set already. And now let's check it out. What's there inside, Anubhav? Voila, you can see some object is there. That's your model object. Am I clear? Yes or no? Am I clear how to get the model object once again, which is set to the application level? And I can say Anubhav.getData, and you're ready to experience. Voila, that's my data. You remember, this is the data we had set to the model, and that data is now visible to us. Is this step clear, everybody? That your model is set. This is your testing. This is your testing of your model, whether the model is set properly or not. Clear, everyone? Is this step clear? How to test whether your model is properly set or not. So now we got the model object properly. This is our model object, and now what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and we will be so we got this model object, and now what we will be doing is, after getting the model object over here, what we will do is we have to now do the binding. So binding is a process of connecting this model to the UI elements. So what are your UI elements? It's input, right? It's input field. So we have to now connect this to the input fields. Earlier we had hard coded values, correct? Hard coded values. So who will tell me what is the address of employee number in my JSON? Who will tell me what is the address of employee number in the structure? Who will tell me what is the address of employee number in the structure? Who will tell me what is the address of employee number in my structure? Or everybody has answered almost perfect answer. You all are right. This is what we have learned in the last class, how to make the address of the data. Perfect. Thank you so much. Very nice. Okay. So let's go ahead and now see what we will do is we have always this rule of the game. As per this rule of the game, every curly braces is a slash, and then we have employee structure, and then again curly braces, and then that's how we will be making this rule. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Slash empstr slash emp number. So let's connect it here. I will come here, guys. Always when you're doing binding, put curly braces, curly braces slash empstr slash, what is the property name? Property name is empno. Is this clear, guys? Am I clear how to do the binding, data binding? In this case, always put always curly braces, and inside the curly braces put your address of the property inside the property inside the JSON. Is this clear, guys? The syntax, how to do the data binding, how to do the data binding. Is this clear? And now, simply I also do it for employee name slash empstr slash. Let's put the property name. What's the property name? Who will tell me what's the property name for employee name? What is the property name for employee name? E name. Perfect answer. Don't do, it's case sensitive. Be careful. If you put capital E name, it won't work. Okay, it is e name, it's case sensitive. Be careful. Many of you will do this mistake of case sensitivity. Okay, and now we are done. I save this. What do we see now? Okay, symbols will break you or make you perfect. Very nice, good. So now curly braces and your path, your address. Let's come back and refresh the page. So let's see what do we get. What do you think should happen when I refresh the app? What do you think should happen when I refresh the app? What do you think should happen? The value should come up here. So from employee number, this value will come, and from employee name, this value will come here. Yeah, it should be 1000. Spider-Man should become. Come back, refresh. Boom, there you go. You can see Spider-Man over here. The data from your real model is pumping in into the UI elements. Are you clear, guys? Data binding. You can see clearly this is your model and this is your view. Data binding is happening here. Is this clear, everyone? Data binding concept to all of you. Are you all clear? Data binding concept, how the data is transferring from model to the view. Okay, yeah, cool. So what is the doubt, ADM? What is your doubt, ADM? Please unmute your line and ask your doubt. ADM, why it's not clear for you?
Anubhav, this is server from Bangladesh.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm attending the first time your live session, but I miss out for the 5 minutes beginning. So just a couple of seconds, would you explain? So I'll get the rest of the
I'm so sorry.
session.
It is not possible to cover all those session in couple of seconds
No,
because
no,
there
no,
are a
no,
lot
no,
of small
no, no, no,
concepts.
not all those session. I have seen all the video record just today.
No, I didn't get you. What you mean to say?
Uh, uh, I have joined your class today 5 minutes later. So I just want that initial part. Rest of the
Okay.
video I have seen.
All right. So when we started with creating a model object. We set the data into the model, and then as we discussed in last class, we had these three steps to create the model. We actually created our model, and we had set the data to the model object now, and now we are just binding this model object to the app, to the view basically. Okay, to do that you already know the syntax which I just explained you, curly braces and the address. So making this address, we have learned it in the last class, how to make this address. This is covered in the last class actually.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so that's what is happening, and now the data is popping up on the UI. So basically we are learning here data binding. Okay, we are
Yeah,
learning
Anubhav,
data binding.
one quick question. So where do we mention the O model reference? Because
We
we
don't have
set
to do
model.
that because this model is aware to entire application knows this model. See, this is the step 3. You made your entire application aware. You have made this, like you remember in small town, whenever there is some announcement needs to be made, they use a small auto and they put a loudspeaker on that auto, and then that auto is moving all around the city announcing that we have a circus coming in the city, right guys? Have you seen in movies also? This is what is
Yes.
happening. This is an announcement which you have made to entire application. Hey, this is the source of data which has come up. This is a new source of data from where anybody can draw the water. This is a new source of water. We are getting a head pump in our village, and anybody can go and get the water from this head pump. This is an
Yes.
announcement. Step 3 is very important. You made an announcement here to the entire city here, to the entire project here, telling this project, hey, this is my model. This is the model from where everybody can take the data from. So by default, system will do what? You did a binding, it will go and look where? Where do you think it will go and look? When you did this binding, where do you think it will go and look? It will go and look into that O model object, which is set at the application level. That's why the step 3 was so important, because step 3, we have made this
We,
model aware to the entire application.
so does it mean that we will have a one view, one controller, and one controller will have only one model? Is that so?
No, it can have multiple model. I'm coming to that concept. I'm coming to that concept. You can also have multiple model, but then the confusion comes which model will be taken as a priority. I'm coming to that. So first, at least this is clear or not before
Okay, yeah,
proceeding
got.
further. Okay. So it's a genuine confusion that Anubhav, how does system know that it has to go to O model to search for these properties because these properties are in O model? Guys, this is the default model for entire application now, because you set it at entire application level. See, SAP Getco runtime instance of running application. So you have set it at the entire application level. Now system will automatically do a lookup. Here it, when you give the property, it will do a lookup into the default model which is there in the app level. It finds this property address and it brings the data here. Now coming one question to all of you, one question to all of you. I have given value as 9500 euros. Why this is not reflecting here in salary? Spider-Man is coming properly, why salary is not reflecting? Who will answer? Very good. You guys understood the model concept. We have not done the binding for salary property. Perfect answer. Thank you so much for all your answer. Your answers gives me a lot more confidence to proceed further. Salary, I did the binding. Let's also do for currency. Curly braces slash empstr slash currency. I save this up, come back and refresh the page. And voila, there you go. The data which you had now in the model for all the other properties is also pumping up over here. So you see, each property is supplying data to each of your UI input fields. Is this clear, everyone? Am I clear, everyone? Step number 1, is this clear to everyone? This is called data binding, that the process of taking data from the model and supplying it to the UI. This is called data binding concept. What are all the other syntax for doing data binding? So this is one syntax. This is one way you can do data binding. There are other ways also to do data binding. What are all those other ways? So let me write down here. There are total 4 ways to do data binding, guys. Okay. So there are 4 different syntax to perform data binding. The first syntax which we are already seen here, this is called direct binding with view. So what we have to do, we have to say our UI element, whatever is the control you are using. I'm just writing syntax, guys. Control we are using, its property, and after the property we have to use curly braces and the address of your model property. Is this clear, guys? This is the syntax which we had just learned it now. This is the first thing which we had just learned it. This is option number 1. Option number 2, we can also use method of a control to perform data binding. In this we have two methods basically. which gives an option for two more techniques. So one method which you can use is your control object. So O control is your control object, and then in this you have something called bind and your property name. Okay, so this property name here, guys, this property name is your property name. Which is the property with which I am binding? Which is the property of input field I am binding the data? Which is the property? Is the value property. Are you clear? So what will be the method name? What will be the method name? What will be the method name? If the value is the property to bind the data, what will be the method name? Not set value, it's bind value. See here the method. It's bind property name. Which property are we binding? 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 We are binding value property. So the method name will be bind value. Is this clear, guys? This is the way, and in this bind value you can pass the path. We call it as path. This address of model property is also known as path. Clear, everyone? This is also known as path. This is option number 2. Am I clear, guys? Option number 2. Option number 3. So this is, I'll just move this down. Down over here. Okay, so we will be doing all four. We will learn, don't worry. We will learn all four, don't worry. I'm coming to it. The second option I would say here is another syntax within the view. So we can use the syntax is control property, whatever property you want to bind, and then you have to use curly braces. Of course, double quote will come naturally, curly braces, and then you have to say path, single quote, and in this you have to put address of model property. Clear, guys? This is another syntax. Let's see that. So you have to explicitly say what is the path of my data. So here you are directly putting curly braces and putting the directly path. Here you have to say path variable equals to your address. So curly braces, path variable equals to your address. That is syntax number 2. Let me show you the syntax number 2. So take this employee name out and just say path colon single quote and put the value. Is this syntax clear, everyone? Is this syntax clear? It's doing same thing. It's just a different syntax. My duty, it's my duty to teach you all syntax. So in company, when you go, you don't get confused. Some people may write this, some people may write this. It's your choice, what you write. I personally prefer option number 2. This is my preference. However, it depends on case to case. It's my duty to teach you all the syntax. It is not mandatory that you follow me for the syntax, but it is my duty. It is my duty to teach you the syntax so that you don't get confused. It's up to you. Both are doing same thing. You refresh, there is no difference in the output. Okay, no difference. Oops, why it's not working? Path is equals to slash impstr. Why it's not working? Why it's not working? There is something wrong. Have we done something wrong? Have we done something wrong? Why it's not working? Spider-Man should come here ideally, guys. Okay, Spider-Man should come. It should work. No, it's not working. Something is wrong. Let me just check. Not sure why it's not working. Yes, this is part of syntax. Absolutely, this is syntax, guys. Syntax number 2. It's called path, and actually this will work when you also use an additional property with this. I will come to that additional property later. Right now you see it's not working. The Spider-Man value ideally should have come here. Okay, no, double quote won't help. Let me still try it, because if you put double quote, it's breaking this double quote. The start of this double quote is broken here. If you put the double quote, it won't work, because every double quote starting and ending will package something. If you put double quote here, it will package only this particular path. So never put this like this. Always put single quote inside. So curly braces, path, and then you have to put the path here. Why it's not working, I'm not really sure. Ideally it should have worked. It's not working. Maybe we have to check this later, but right now understand this is another syntax. Don't get confused. Sometimes you may see that syntax. Actually there is a precondition. Along with path we have to also put something called formatter, which I will come to little later. So let's put a fundafox here. Make sure that you use below syntax only with formatter. Now what is formatter? It's a heavy dose of antibiotic. We will see it little later. Clear? Let's move to syntax number 3, which is using the methods, using the controller method. So one is control, your control object dot bind your property name. Property name here is value, so method name becomes bind value. Syntax, the last option, we can also use the method as bind property as below. So how we will use this? We will use it like control dot bind property, and inside this here we will put the property name comma property value. That's what we will be doing. Is that clear, everyone? Property name comma property. So here this method name itself is bind property. Here it was bind property name. So value was the property, hence there was a method bind value. But here it's bind property, property name inside, and then its property value. So let's look at the last two syntaxes. So for that we need what? Anyone? What do we need to perform last two syntax? What is needed? Can you tell me what is needed to perform last two syntax? Yes, perfect answer. Raj has got the right. We need this object of control. Very good, Raj. Thank you so much. We need this object of control to perform these last two syntax. So let's go ahead and obtain this object of control. Who will tell me how to obtain object of control in a controller for a view element, UI element? How to obtain object of control? Perfect answer. Raj has got it right. This dot get view dot by id. Perfect answer, Raj. Very nice. Raj, can you unmute your line and tell me, am I taking extra classes for you? Raj, am I
No,
taking?
not at all.
Sorry?
Not at all.
Then how do you remember all this?
Oh, just by the exercises that you have given.
That's it, guys. You can see two great examples, Shriveni and Raj today. They both are practicing hard. That's why they remember. So let's put an ID for my salary and currency field. So let's put an ID CURR and ID salary, and I'm going to obtain these control object based on their IDs in my controller. So go to controller, and now guys, I'm killing this value dependency. I'm making the value empty for both to show you the syntax. So I have removed the ID now from here. Now what will happen when I run? Will I get the value of salary and currency? Will I get the value? No, I didn't get. See. But how do we do now binding? We will use these objects. Okay, so let's go to the init method again, and now I come here and I'll say var salary. This is not a good technique which I'm showing you, but still this is one other way people may use it. Get view dot by id, and I'll put id salary, and I'll say var currency. This dot get view dot by id, id curr, And now let me just put salary dot bind value, and I just put the address here slash empstr slash salary, and o currency dot bind property. Value is the property name which I want to bind it with the slash empstr slash currency. Save this. Can anybody tell me, will it work? Anyone? Do you think it will work? It will work, but only salary. Refresh. Both of them are not working. Who is your best friend? Who is your best friend? Who is your best friend? Console is your best friend. Come to console. Can you see this .getView.byId is not a function? How is it possible? Anyone, what do you think I've done intentionally wrong to make it fail? Who can fix this for me? Who can fix this for me? Who can fix this? Perfect answer. Santosh has already done it. You can see line number 84, by ID, JavaScript naming convention. First letter is small, next consecutive word, first letter is capital. I must be capital, guys. Are you clear? Are you clear, guys? It was exactly telling you in console कि कहाँ problem है. Exactly in the console, you know where is the problem. Can you see it is exactly telling line number 84. Click here, directly taking you to this line. This is the culprit. It's so simple. Console will take you directly to the line where is an issue. Where is the issue? Now coming back, I changed it now. By ID carefully. Come back and refresh. And you will see now. Let's refresh. And boom, there you go. You can see your values are popping up on the UI once again. How it is possible? Because of these two methods. Okay. Because of these two methods. Because you are, okay, there's a question here. It's not so easy. It's not so similar to ABAP error explanation, which is not so great. Trust me, guys, it is better than ABAP. But it's just that our mind is packed with ABAP aroma. We have spent most of the time day and night with ABAP language, so we are more comfortable with ABAP. We don't want to break our comfort zone. And here JavaScript is breaking your comfort zone, इसलिए तकलीफ हो रहा है. This is an initial effort. Don't worry. Keep it get going. Don't lose hope. Don't lose faith. Trust me, you will love JavaScript better than ABAP. Better than ABAP. Of course, ABAP will be close to you as always because that was your main programming language. That was main growth contributor in your career. But JavaScript will give you an edge in your career. So that's why you may not think it's not as comfortable as ABAP because you're not used to it. Once you get used to it, what is the way to get used to it? Spend more and more time with it. Okay. Why don't we have o currency dot bind value? We have it. I am teaching here syntax to you. It's my duty to teach you all syntax. You also can use o currency dot bind value. Who said we don't have? Who said we don't have? Did I say that we don't have this method bind value? This is also input field. This is also input field. We have it. We have it. It's my duty to teach you syntax. Try to understand my statement. When I say something, I'm saying we have a method, we have options. These are options. You can also use bind property on salary also. I am not showing here getting how to get output. I am showing you techniques in UI5. I'm making you learn the SAP UI5 terminologies, techniques, and options. So that when you go to real-time projects, sometimes you'll see somebody use this suddenly for binding. Somebody use this for binding. Somebody use this for binding. Somebody use path expression for binding. What will you do? You will get confused. कि अनुभव ने तो ये पढ़ाया था, अब क्या हो रहा है? So that's the reason, guys. Out of these four, this is the most recommended technique. The first one which we learned is the most recommended technique. However, it depends on need to need basis. Sometimes they may write dynamic coding like this. It depends on need to need basis. It's my duty to tell you all syntaxes as part of this comprehensive training so you guys can understand everything. That's my duty. It's my duty. I'm just doing my duty. If you think that I should not teach all these concepts to you, that it's getting overburden, I will stop teaching all the variations in the code. From next class, I will teach you only the simplest variation and move on the topic. If you think that is confusing you, it's okay, no problem. I will stop teaching these concepts to you, which is making things more difficult for you. But if you want me to cover all variations, all possible options, then I can go ahead and complete this. Okay, so I hope it's important, and I assume it's important for you to learn all variations in the code. Okay, so we will go ahead with all variations. So these are all 4 variations in the code, guys. At one single place you have learned it. It's up to you to choose any option. Okay, it's your choice to decide any option. It's your choice. I have no problem. It's your choice. As per recommendation, the first option is the most used option, which we saw. Okay, cool. Good that you all agree that we want to go with all variations. I hope it's not confusing for you. एक बार हाथ से try करके देखो. Trust me, you will love it. Okay. Now coming back, that's about the data model binding. We have got the data now in the UI and the syntax. Now my question to all of you: what do you think? What do you think when I have got my model on the left side? I've got my UI fields on the right side. Whenever I have this data, it's transferring from model to the view, right? This data, whatever you have, it's transferring from model to the view. What about vice versa? If I change the data is Spider-Man, do you think this data will change back into the model? Anyone? Do you think this traffic will go back into the model? Most of you are saying no. Most of you saying no. Okay, I see couple of yes. Guys, it depends. It depends. It depends on what? There is a concept called binding mode. 100% interview question, guys. Binding mode. There is a concept called binding mode. What is binding mode? Binding mode decides how the data will flow. What is binding mode? There are 3 types of binding mode in UI5: one way, two way, and one time. Okay, guys, forget about UI5. Can you tell me what is one way traffic? Have you been to Bangalore? There are most of the roads are one way, right? Have you been to Bangalore? The most of the roads are one way. What is a one way traffic? Only one side traffic can run. You can't drive your car on opposite direction. It only goes in one direction. So towards the Majestic, if you want to go, you have to take this Richmond Road, and that's one way. There is no traffic coming back on the Richmond Road from the Majestic, right? It's a one way traffic. Okay, what is two way traffic? Like Delhi Gurgaon, there are roads are very broad in Delhi Gurgaon, so you can go from two way. You can go back and forth in both the directions. Is this clear, guys? One way traffic and two way traffic. Do you all understand one way traffic and two way traffic? Is this clear, everyone? That's two way traffic. That's exactly happening in UI5. The one way traffic and two way traffic. What does it mean? It means between your model and between your view. So you have your model and you have your view. Both can exchange the data. So you, whatever data you have in model, let's take a simple example. I have a very simple field called name, and this is Spider-Man. And then on the UI, we have an input field which is binded, which is connected to this name field. Okay. On the UI, we have this connection. So on this UI, we have this connection, and here we are displaying Spider-Man. Clear, everybody? We are displaying Spider-Man over here. Now, we observed that whatever data was there in Spider-Man, it was going to the UI, right? What do you think this direction, this traffic direction is what? What do you think this traffic direction? This is one way. So one way means if the data flow from model to the view, that's a one way binding. But what if the data flow back from the model to the view? What do you call that type of traffic? What do you call that type of traffic? If the data flow back from the view to the model, that becomes a two-way binding. Is that clear, everybody? Is that clear? So if I change here this Spider-Man to Superman, the data will reflect back into the model. Is this clear, everyone? Are you all clear between one way and two way? So one way is data will flow, any changes in the model will flow to the UI. And if the vice versa is also possible, becomes two way. What is one time? What do you think is one time, guys? Have you been to movie theaters? Have you been to movie theaters where you guys go and take tickets about movie? Right? It's one time. One time means your car can only pass one time. You are taking your car, you've taken your movie ticket, and you go inside the circus or whatever movie you go. And then coming out, you will just come out of parking lot and goes to your home. There is no again taking, right? You can't go in the queue again and again to take a ticket. That is not possible. It's one time. Your car will only pass one time. That's it. After that, there is a broken connection. None of the way will work. It's a one time. You only pass one time and that's it. Okay. That's it. You can't go again and again. Okay. Have you ever driven over the bridge, over the biggest bridge in the world? Anybody driven their car on the bridges, or anybody driven to Ladakh? It's one time. One time means on that road you can only pass one time until you go all over again and pass it by. Okay, it's not one way or two way. It's one time pass. You can only pass one time over the bridge. So it's exactly that. After that, there is no connection between the view and controller. So let's note down the binding mode. If the data transfer, I will show you, don't worry. If the data transfer happens from model to the view, it is becoming one way. Okay, if the data transfer from view to model also, this becomes two-way binding. Clear, everyone? Watch the picture, don't forget this picture, it's very important. And one time the data will only transfer one time from model to the view. After that, no transfer happens between model to view and view to model. It's a one-time traffic. Let's observe this. So what is my question to all of you? This is a certification question. What is default binding mode for JSON model? Anyone? This is a certification question. What is the default binding mode for JSON model? Most of your answers are incorrect. It is two-way binding mode. That's a default binding mode for JSON model. Okay. Most of you failed to answer that. That's okay. You all knew. So that is fine that you give a wrong answer. But now you know the right answer. The default binding mode is two-way binding. Am I clear? Let's go to the system and observe this. Are you ready to experience this in the system? Okay. Before we experience this, we should know how to access data from model. So there are, to access the data from model, we have two APIs. We have model object dot get property, which, and here again you put the path to access the property name, and then again o model object dot set property to change the value into the model. So just put your path and put your value, what value you want to set to the model. This API works on model object. Watch out here. This is model object. In the last exercise, it was control object, your UI, your element object, and here it is model object. Everything is an object. You remember the Funda Fox of my first class. Everything is an object. Model is also an object. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and test it. So I am already here. You can see this is our data on the UI. Okay, this is our data on the UI. And now, how do you access model object? Who will tell me? How do I access model object here? Anyone? How do you access model object? No, to access UI element, you do inspection. How do you access? Just now, when I started the class, I told you, where is the model object residing? 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 It's residing in SAP UI Get Core. This is the runtime instance of running application. क्यों भूल जाते हो आप लोग? This is the place where model object is residing currently. So you can use that API to get the model object. So get the model object is sap.ui.getcore.getModel. Is this clear, guys? Step number 1. Are you clear how to get the model object? We got the model object. We got the model object, right? Is this clear, guys? Now to this model object, if I want to access employee name, what is the API I use to access the employee name value in the model? What is the API? I just told you the API name. What is the API you will use to access the model property employee name? Get property API you have to use. Okay, so just use omodel.getProperty and pass here slash empstr slash ename. Are you all clear, guys? This path is playing so important role. Can you see this is the value in your model? This is the value of the property in your model. And do you see the same value is displaying on the UI? What does this mean? Do you see same value coming on the UI? What does this mean? Which traffic direction is this? Which traffic direction is this? Which traffic direction? This is one way. Data from model to the view, this is one way. How do I test two way now? Who will tell me how do I do testing of two way? Change this value. Yes, very good. As simple as that. ज़्यादा complicacy है ही नहीं यहाँ पे. Just change this value and that value should now change when I do get property again. That value should change again. But let's first test one way once again. I will now change the value in the model first. Okay, I do a set property and I'll say Anubhav. What should happen, guys, if the one way is working fine? What should happen if the one way is working fine? What should happen if the one way is working fine? Data will change in the model, will reflect on the UI. That is the definition of one way, right? That is the definition. Press enter. Can you see the data in the UI has changed? Do you see the one way is working? Do you see the one way is working or not? Do you see one way is working or not, guys? Do you see yes or no? Please answer yes or no. Do you see one-way traffic is working or not? The data change in the model is reflecting on the UI. There are two things. It's easy to understand. This is your model. This is your view. Data change in the model is reflecting on the view. This is one way. Data change in the view reflects back to the model. That's called that's called that's called, if I just come here and change this to Sonal, what do you think should happen? What do you think should happen if I do get property? What do you think should happen if I do get property? What do you think should happen if I do get property? Yes, absolutely. There you go. You can see the value in the model have changed to Sonal. Are you guys clear? Are you guys clear? The default binding mode for JSON model is two-way binding. Is this one-way, two-way traffic is clear to all of you? Are you clear or not? Yes or no? Yes or no? Are you clear? Yes, two-way traffic. Data changes in the model reflects to the view, and view changing the data reflects back to the model. How do you change default binding mode? We have an API to change default binding mode. So it's of course set API. There is a binding mode property. So there is must be a set method set default binding mode. And then we can pass here one way, two way. So I will change it to one way. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to come back to my UI5 and I'll say, hey, this model you created, that's very nice. I love your model, but can you change this to set default binding Moda, and please make it one way. Nice, easy, so easy. There is a property default binding mode. I just have a setup method for that. You can of course find this method in UI5 SDK when you explore the model object, and that's what I'm doing. I'm making it one way. Now let's come back and experience the difference. Let's come back and experience the difference. What do you think? What is one way? First, get your model object. Got the model object. Now, what do you think if I change the value to Anubhav? Will it work or not? Anyone, when I change the value, will it work or not? Will it work or not? Yes, those who are saying yes, you all understood the concept, because one way is still applicable. Data from model to the view will still transfer. That's one way traffic, guys. We didn't stop the one way traffic. We didn't stop the road yet. We still have this working because this is one way traffic. Let's press enter, and voila, there you go. You can see the value change to Anubhav on the UI. Now, next question to of all of you. If I change it to Sonali, what do you think should happen? What do you think should happen? When I do a get property, do you think I should get Sonali or I should get Anubhav? What is your answer? Anubhav or Sonali? Anubhav or Sonali? Anubhav or Sonali? Anubhav will be the answer because that's the value which is there in the model. It did not change. It will not change because it's one way now. So this traffic is stopped. This is stopped, guys. This will not work. This traffic, this another direction of traffic, it completely stopped. You will not see the changes which has been done on the UI back to the model. It will not happen because it's one way direction. Let's do a get. Voila, there you go. In the model, you still have the value as Anubhav, and on the UI, you have a different value. Is this clear, guys? The two one way binding. Are you all clear? Are you all clear? One way and two way. Is this clear, guys? लोगों को सालों लग जाते हैं. It takes years for people to understand this concept, which you understood in last 1 hour, or in fact last 30 minutes. It takes years and years for people to understand this concept. I see consultants working in UI5 for last 3 years, 2 years, big names, big resumes, big companies, big brands. But when I ask this question in interview, they try to make me revolve. They think I'm stupid. Do you think interviewer is stupid? Guys, interviewer is a good interviewer who acts stupid, but he's not or she's not stupid. They already know the answer of question which they asked you. And if you think interviewer is stupid, interviewer is not stupid. It's you who is getting into the stupidity of giving a wrong answer, thinking you yourself over smart. Selection होगा ही नहीं आपका. Impossible. Impossible. Very important concept, guys. One way and two way binding. Very, very important. From model to model, is that the binding mode differs? Is the default binding differs? Yes, it may differ. Let's see where can we find what is the default binding mode for each model. Okay, we for each model, let's go back and check it out. All right, come to documentation and search for binding modes. I told you guys this is the central place for all the documentation which you have. Setting the default binding mode concept. You see the documentation about it. If you wish, you can go ahead and read the documentation in detail. Okay, this is your choice. You can go ahead and do that. So you can see here the binding mode, how to set the binding mode, supported binding modes, 1 time, 2 time. And let me just see if we can find default binding. We must see somewhere the binding mode, okay, where it will explain you about the default binding mode for each model. So binding mode, or maybe I just say default binding mode SAP UI5. Google कर लो, ज़्यादा तकलीफ है तो. You can come here. Let's see. Voila, there you go. On the first Google answer, you can see here, that's a default, that's a supported binding modes. And what is the default one? It's somewhere down. Resource model is 1 time, JSON and XML model is 2 time, OData model is 1 way. Clear everyone? That's a default binding mode for each of the model, answering to your question. Okay, in which case we use two-way binding mode. In when so the way they've set it default, same way we will use. We don't change binding mode ever. Okay, because many time we want to manipulate data. For manipulation of data between view and the model, two-way is perfect option. Two-way is one of the best option to do this. That's the reason we don't change binding mode, we keep two-way always. Okay, for resource binding mode, when you learn resource model, you will realize why SAP has kept it one time. You will realize it when I'll teach you resource model. For these two model, they are used for manipulation purpose. It's good that we use two-way, because we don't want all the unnecessary logic every time we ourselves read the UI and change the data. We want it automatic to change the data in the backend, sorry, in the code, whenever the user changes the data on the UI. Okay, and then one way, of course, OData, when I teach you, you will understand why it's one way. Clear everyone? That's default binding mode. I'll put this link in the PPT so you guys can refer this, of course, little later point of time if you wish to. Okay, now another question I want to ask: when I change the data, do you think data will change here on the UI? When I'm changing the data, do you think data will change here? No. And this is confusing. Anubhav, why it's not changing? You said two-way mein change hoga. Why it's not changing here? Guys, this is hard coded data. This is like your file. Try to understand, guys. Model does not mean this. Model means object. Model means object. Model means object. Model means object. This is not model. This is data. You are supplying to initialize your model. Model is an object, guys. Why don't you understand? Model is an object. It's runtime. Model is object. This is the data you are supplying to initialize your model. This is your real model. This is your object. The data changes only in object, not here. This is your file. This is your file where the data resides. Okay, you want to separate this in a file? Of course, why not? Let's take this code up, cut this complete piece of code, come back here, create a new folder. I call this new folder as models, and in this I will put new folder, another folder. I'll call it as mock data. Mock data means it's just sample data, some sample mocking I'm doing. It's not a real data, it's just a mock data, and I will call it as let's say sample.json, and I paste this complete data over here. That's our data, guys. Clear everyone? And now who will tell me which API do I use now to bring data in the model? Which API do I use to bring data in the model? Will set data work? Perfect answer. GK has got the right answer. It's O model dot load data. Kya bola hai sir? Very good. What an answer. Amazing. If you remember, those who are watching my PPT every day, they will never forget this. See here, load data API. Yesterday I told you this is a value add. You just put a file path and it will get loaded. Rather than setting the data, you're loading now from a file. Let's give an address to the file. It's always models folder. So your models folder slash mock data slash sample JSON. So models folder, just come in double quotes, models slash mock data slash sample dot JSON. It's not a JavaScript file. That's the reason I'm not using the namespace here. It's a JSON file. So JavaScript file, whenever you have JS file, then only you will use the namespace, which is Ironman here. So you will not use for JSON file this namespace. Just use the folder structure. Okay, save this up, come back. Result will not change. It's as it is, it will be, because now it's just separating the data into a file. So there are three things. One is a file. You see the result is coming proper. So there are three things here. One is file, one is model object, and one is view object. Try to understand. This is a big important understanding of yours. You will not get confused. There is a file where you have some sample data. This file is just used to load the gun. This is your bullets of the gun. Actual gun is what is firing. Okay, firing. The target is done by gun. Gun is what? Your model object is the gun, and this is the object which is connected to the view. Okay, is that clear, everybody? So you have a binding between, not between this file and the view, you are binding between model object and the view. You are, when your binding mode works, it works between these two entities, not between the file and the view. Am I clear, guys? Is this clearing your confusion about why it's not changing in the file, why it's changing in the model object? I hope this picture clarifies it. Just a small thing, but yes, it may come as a confusion for many of you. Anubhav, why it's not changing here again? Because some people may come back and say, Anubhav, it should change here also, right? In the file, it should change here. When you're changing, if it's two-way, it should change. Guys, this is file. This is just a supplier of data to the model object. Model itself is an object. This object has a binding relative to one way and two way. For default JSON, it's two-way binding. Am I clear, guys? What is one way, two way, and one time? This is called binding modes. This is called binding modes. ये mode word नहीं भूल जाना दोस्तों, बहुत तकलीफ हो जाएगा आपको. This is called binding mode. This is not binding type. Many time people confuse between binding mode and binding type. They go to interview, interviewer is asking binding mode, you are telling answer of binding type. Will you get selected, guys? If somebody asking you binding mode and you are telling binding type, will you get selected in interview? Will you get selected? Anubhav, I used to know every answer. Your training was amazing, Anubhav. I know every single answer which interviewer asked me. But Anubhav, I did not get selected. Anubhav, I did not get selected. What is wrong, Anubhav? Tell me what is wrong. You tell me what is wrong. He was asking you binding mode. You are telling binding type. Why will interviewer select you? Just becoming my training, will you get authority to get selected in every interview? No. If you give a wrong answer, you will not get selected. Be a good listener in interview. Many times in interview, we get so excited and or maybe anxious that we don't listen to the question properly. You don't take interview as interview, guys. Take it as a casual talk. Take it as a casual talk. Don't take interview as interview. Why you get deselected is because you take interview as interview. Take it as a casual talk where you are going and talking to a person who just wanted to have a conversation with you. Understand it as a conversation. In that conversation, the person will ask you couple of questions, and if you fit to the need, then they will take you. Why are you taking load of it? Sometimes you are overexcited or anxious about it, and that is the reason of failure. In spite of you knowing every single answer, you don't listen to interviewer properly. Do you know that there is an important aspect? If you have ever taken interviews or at least a training how to take interview, there is an aspect called listening power. An interviewer will give you rating on different parameters: communication skill, technical skill, problem solving, analytical capabilities, able to listen to the question. This is one parameter. This is one parameter. Listening to the question is one parameter. Based on this, you are judged. Are you listening to the question properly? Because if you are not a good listener, tomorrow your manager, when you join the company, give you some task, you don't listen properly, you will give some wrong output. You will listen something, understand something else, and you will produce something wrong in the company. That is even more dangerous. Technical skill is just one aspect on which you are judged. Your overall score is determined based on different parameters: your communication skill, your ability to understand question, your listening capability, your technical, of course your technicals will be judged, but together with that, your analytical ability, your problem solving. Sometimes they give you puzzle, sometimes they will say positive attitude, team player. These are all the aspects on which you are judged. And overall score, overall total score will determine of your selection. Many times we simply focus on technical things, go for interview, or even in spite of answering all questions, we get rejected. Why? Attitude problem. You got a 0 score in attitude, you got 10 out of 10 in the technical, overall score become 10. But another person who have come, he has got 8 into technical and he has got 6 into attitude. Who will get selected? You got 10 on 10 on technical, but 0 on attitude. Another person got 8 out of 10 in technical, but 6 out of 10 in attitude. Right attitude guy will get selected. This is how interview process works. I have been into most top companies interview panels, and I have trained people how to take interviews. And I have designed most of the companies you are going for interview. I have designed their their sheet, interview evaluation sheet, where they are judging you based on that evaluation sheet. I have designed that evaluation sheet, which on the basis of which most of the top companies are interviewing you. So we always give this interview sheet, evaluation sheet, to interviewer and ask interviewer to fill the rating on each evaluation parameter, not always technical. This is the reason of not getting selected in interview, guys. Not always technical. Technical to strong karna hi hai, because that's your main work. This is what you're getting paid for. But you have to also focus on other things. Are you a good listener? Become a good listener, guys. This will help you big time in your life. Big time. We will talk about binding types in next class. There are 4 types of binding types: property binding, element binding, expression binding, and aggregation binding. We're going to discuss that in the next class. There was also one question: how can we have multiple models? Yes, of course, everybody want multiple models. We will see that. How can you separate your model code and create proper MVC here? Right now, your model code is inside the controller. It's not a good approach. We will also do this modularization. Lots of concepts are still pending. I cannot cover everything in one class. Please stay tuned. We will have a lot more action coming from next day onwards. Thank you so much. With that, it's a wrap on today's class. Those who are joining first time, you have a weekend on the plate. Please utilize your weekend to cover up the missed classes. Yesterday's class is already uploaded, Arpit. You can check that. Video access right now, it's showing number of playbacks exceeded. We are working on that issue. Hopefully by after 1 hour it will get resolved. Okay, I have uploaded
Uh,
today morning, Mahesh. Questions from your side, guys, one by one.
Anubhav, I have one question regarding the XML view.
Yes,
I am unable to pass parameter to the function in XML view.
which parameter?
I like I want to pass controller object to
You don't
the
need to.
event.
You don't need to. That's the beauty of XML view. Okay, let me take you. I think you're not reading PPT. आप PPT read नहीं करते हो सर. सब कुछ लिखा हुआ है PPT में. Everything is
No,
written in PPT. I'll show you. मैं दिखाता हूँ आपको कहाँ लिखा हुआ है. ये देखो. I will show you that. When I taught you the Funda Foxes that day, I have explained that. You see, catch. Can you see this catch? Did you read this? In case of XML view, we don't need to do this. We don't need to pass the controller object to the event handler, because this pointer will point to controller object by default in case of XML view. This is the reason why I am yelling every session. Take a print out of this PPT and carry with you. क्यों नहीं carry करते हो इसको? Why are you not using this PPT in your free time? Why are you sitting idle or doing WhatsApp chit chatting in your traffic hours? Why?
Is library only for the session or
Which session? Sorry. Does that answer your question? You don't need to pass that
yes.
controller parameter explicitly. This is the reason you should take print of this. अरे printer नहीं है तो photo ले लो यार, mobile तो है आपके पास में. Utilize the technology best. Take a photo in your mobile. Read from that photo. कितना पढ़ोगे इतना?
Anubhav,
Yes, go ahead.
Anubhav, when we are doing the two-way binding,
Mhm.
where is the data getting stored in the two-way binding?
Where is the?
Is the data getting stored when you're doing the two-way binding?
It's stored in the model object, and model gets destroyed when your app gets closed. It's like internal table. So, are you in a Bapper?
No, Anubhav, I'm not an
All right.
ABAP.
No problem. No problem. It's like your variable. You know, this is model is your object in this case. It is flash. So it's stored in this model object only. So when you close the application, model gets destroyed, view get destroyed. So data also get destroyed. Only temporary supply of data when your application starts is from the file. After which data exists as long as model object exists.
Okay. Thank you.
It's in the model object.
Anubhav,
Yes, please.
Anubhav, this is the first time I'm joining. So any guideline for me, because few things it's quite difficult to cope up with the pace of these things. So any guideline for me?
For you have to complete missed classes. You have weekend around the corner. Are you ready to take up the challenge to complete these sessions which you missed over the weekend?
I have completed all the session before joining this class.
You have
So,
completed, which is the super class
yeah.
of all the controls?
Base class, I think.
You think?
You have created.
You just said you completed. Anybody,
No,
those who have been there and completed, what is the super class of all the controls? You see already
SAP
in the
UI
chat window,
4.
managed object is the
SAP
super class
4.
of all the controls, and it was covered in my previous session. If you have completed, how come you forgot? This is the super class of all the controls. Session number, slide number 49. कैसे भूल गए? Completion and learning two are different things. I say I completed machine learning, but can I implement it? Can I utilize it? Can I give you the answer for that?
No.
Completion is a different thing. Learning is a different thing.
That's why I'm asking. Is that any a guideline for me? They follow this step or
no
like
guideline. The only shortcut to success is hard work. You have to do hard work. Be like this. By the end of the class, you have much better knowledge than anybody else in the session. And for that, I'll tell you the secret of my success, guys. It is coming from right from Gita. In Gita, Lord Krishna once said, ye yatamam prapadyante tamstate bhajamyaham. Ye yatamam prapadyante tamstate bhajamyaham. What does it mean? Ye yata means jo jaisa. Tamstata means usko vaisa. The result of what you do is what because of what you do. What does it mean? If you give more than what you get, soon you will get more than what you gave. Come on with me, faster. If you give more than what you get, soon you will get more than what you gave. If you give more than what you get, soon you will get what more than what you gave. This is, guys, this is the Gita principle, guys. This applies everywhere in life. This is the reason of my success. This is what I always remember. Ye yathamam prapadyante tamstate bhajamyaham. If you give more than what you get, soon you will get more than what you gave. So are you ready to give more than what you get? You will get more than what you gave automatically. This is the guideline from my side. Are you ready to give more than what you get? Whatever I'm teaching, are you ready to practice that much with your complete hard work and faith? If you are ready, trust me, you will get more than what you gave. You will get more than what you gave. In both terms, in monetary terms, for what you paid for this course, you will, I always say, if you are paying X amount for the training, that amount add 3 zeros before this. That much you will make it with these trainings if you properly utilize this training. 10,000 का 10 लाख में कन्वर्ट कर सकते हो आप. 5,000 को 5 लाख में कन्वर्ट कर सकते हो. This is completely possible, but you have to follow. Ye yathamam prapadyante tamstatev bhajamyaham. Very important, guys. This rule applies everywhere. Try it out. Try it out, this rule, anywhere in your life. You will see the results. You will see the results. But don't lose hope. You think that mujhe samajh mein nahi aa raha, I am unable to understand. It's happening not just with you. It happened with me. It's happening with everybody. But the thing is, you have to keep practicing. Don't lose hope. I am there with you, standing nearby you for every single problem you face. I am standing by you. I am there for your problems. All your problems is not your problem. They are my problems. But are you ready to do hard work with me? Are you ready to challenge yourself? घर में बैठे रहते हो, WhatsApp चलाते रहते हो, and then you expect to become a 50 lakh package in UI5. How will it happen? You have to give hard work, guys.
Anubhav, I'm not using WhatsApp.
No, I'm not just saying you. I'm saying in general, what we do, we spend a lot of time on social media, Facebook, WhatsApp. I'm not saying you. I'm just saying most of the time we spend a lot of things. We do a lot of things which are no use right now. Your complete focus right now will be this course. Give me your 2 months, and you will see a great difference. You will see a great difference.
Yeah, thank you.
Anubhav?
Yes, please go ahead. Next out.
Anubhav?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, what is the advantage of table EM tab in model, but we are using just EMP STR for binding?
Currently, there is no advantage. Currently, we have just put it. And of course, do you know the reason why I put it? I do what I do by keeping future in mind, because I have to teach you table control also, right? How will the data come in that table control? It will come from EMP tab. Currently, I just put it. Right now, there's no use. You can ignore it, delete it. No problem. I have no issues.
Yeah.
Go ahead and delete it.
Okay.
Okay. But for future, I will be bringing soon table control in line. So for that, we would need some table, right, to display the data. That's the reason I put it.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anubhav, but in real time scenario, do we hard code all these
No.
data in the model?
This right now I'm showing to explain you binding mode and binding type concept. Once we understand this binding mode, binding type concept, soon we will jump to OData model, where this whole data, instead of hard coding, this whole data will come from real OData service. The another advantage of putting this is, let's say your OData service in company is not ready. So will you keep waiting for OData service कि ABAP अपना काम करेगा तो मैं UI बनाऊंगा? No, you can start with mock data right away. You can create a sample data like this and start building your app on top of it. When the real OData service is available from ABAP layer, you can plug in pretty easily. You will learn those techniques. Hold on for some more time. You will understand the power of using this local data model or local JSON data. Okay.
I have a question. I have one question.
Yes, please. Yes, Alok.
Regarding SAP.UI.define, if you go to SDK, it shows like a method.
It's so?
It's a part of it is a part of SAP.UI method, namespace method.
It won't be part of API documentation. This is called scaffolding templates. If you go to UI5 SDK, you will find a scaffolding template here. Okay, not showing. I don't know.
If you type SAP.UI, then you can find out that this one.
No, it's not coming.
SAP.UI.
Okay, in API level, it won't come actually, I think. SAP.UI. It won't come here. It's a declaration. Actually, it's an initialization or declaration.
No,
it won't
come only. Type only.
It won't come here. It's a scaffolding template. It's like a methodology. It is not a library. You're not using a library or a control library. It's like defining your controller. Okay. So if you come here in the controller, then you must find it here somewhere. You see here. SAP.UI.define. So you can find the documentation here. It's not a library. Okay.
No, if you type SAP.UI, then you can find out that actually. Just type SAP.UI.
In this API reference?
Yes, in API reference.
SAP.UI.
Yeah, then click on that.
Okay. Where is it?
Yeah, click on that. Above.
Ah, here inside this. Yes, SAP UI is the main, the super class. In that you will find, you may find it. So here these are all the methods of SAP.UI, and here you will also have it. Yes.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. How come it is a method, and you're trying to use in just kind of confusion there.
How come it is a?
No, it's a method, and you're using that like I mean, like a syntax. You're using that in JavaScript file. So I didn't understood that point.
Okay, so
Without
actually
using
this
that,
sap.ui.define, it's called template. It's called template to define a JavaScript file. And you see, this is the function, and this function always returns something. If you come down, you see it's always returns something. This is a syntax to define a module. You are defining a JavaScript module in SAP UI5. Okay.
Anubhav, can we use Python also in UI5? Or it's
No,
only
I have not
JavaScript and
seen. I have not
JSON?
seen a use case for using Python in UI5.
Okay.
Okay.
Anubhav, if we are using a single controller with multiple views, if I want to refer second view in the controller, control of second view in the controller, this dot get view still works in that case?
It will give you by default the XML view object, like we saw already in the last class where we were using the main controller for 2 views. However, you can also do this. You can say this dot get view and pass the view ID to get the corresponding view object of your choice. Yeah. So if you have 5 views referred by this controller, you can always say this dot get view and pass the view ID. It will give you that corresponding view object. You can also use sap.ui.getCode to get the view object also, because these all views are registered with the runtime instance of running application. All right, guys, we are already overshooted the time. Thank you so much for joining today's class. See you next week. Those who have joined recently, please complete with the videos. Please complete those videos of missed classes so that you can match up to the class, match up to the level of the other students. And see you Monday. Thank you so much. Good